In this episode of the How to Get on Reality TV podcast, we answer the question, if you've never got a callback after applying multiple times, should you start your story over from scratch? Welcome to the How to Get on Reality TV podcast with Dan Giesling, where I answer your reality TV casting questions once a week. Hey everyone, and welcome to the 37th episode of the How to Get on Reality TV podcast. I'm super excited to be here today. We have a great question from one of you guys, the audience. It's an exciting time depending on which reality TV show you like. A new cast was released, and of course, when that happens, I go ahead and I go through my Gmail and I type in the names of everyone that was cast on the show to see if we had any interactions, if they used the guide or the video course. And I was delighted. As usual, I don't want to say as usual because that sounds cocky, but I was delighted to see that, once again, another cast comes out and there's a really interesting interaction. Someone who used the guide, and I helped that individual. We went back and forth with their casting story, and lo and behold, they're on the show now. Now, a lot of people say, hey, Dan, why don't you release that information, say exactly who it is. For some reason, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know exactly how to do that because I don't want to violate that person's trust, from an email. I'm not sure that they would mind, but you never know. So I don't know how we're going to handle that, but it's really interesting. I went and looked at it yesterday, and I looked at the chain of how it went from here's my idea, they're reviewing it and say tweak this, and then they're on the show. So that's good. I'm excited and for that person because I know how much they wanted to be on the show. So outside of that, which was a little vague, but we have a audience question. Before we get into that, I want to let you guys know about the guide if you are unfamiliar with it. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, I wrote a guide that takes your hand and walks you through the entire process, A to Z, how to create your story, where to start, what to expect at each point in casting. If you want to check that out, you can go to howtogetonrealitytv.net/guide and find out more about this guide that I wrote there. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this week's question from one Mr. Carter. Let's go ahead and listen to it.
Hey Dan, first of all, I just want to say thanks so much for everything you're doing with this site and podcast. There's a lot of conflicting information out there, and I can already tell that you are going to be a great resource for me as I try and think about applying again. So I have a question for you. I have applied to Survivor 4 times so far. Each time I feel more prepared and I feel like I understand who I am personally and who I would be as a player better each time, but I've never received a callback from casting. Now, there are aspects of the old videos that I feel like still apply to me and that I am thinking about including in a new application, but since I never got a call back, do I need to include these or should I just start from scratch and try and create a new narrative? Or I could weave in aspects of the old videos into a new one. It's just hard to know what to change when I don't get any feedback. Love to know your thoughts on this. Thanks so much.
All right, Carter, first off, thanks so much for submitting your question via the website, and I want to thank you for the kind words. I'm glad you found value in the podcast and the site, and thank you for the kind words. That's always cool to hear that, people that may be struggling a little bit with where they're at, that this is a, place for them to turn and get some reliable information. But let's go ahead and break down what Mr. Carter had to say. So he's applied for Survivor 4 times. So right off the bat, man, regardless of anything else I'm about to say, most people give up after 1 or 2. So congrats on that, man, and way to stay persistent. Don't I don't want to say don't belittle, but don't overlook the fact that you've been consistently applying. That's a good thing. The other thing you mentioned, you said you really understand yourself. And so that leads you to the question is, okay, if you understand yourself and you've applied 4 times and never got a call back, the question boils down to, should you start from scratch or should you develop your story using parts of your previous 4 videos or casting experiences? And without seeing your video and without understanding your story, which sometimes I encourage you guys to share a little bit more about your story, or when you're submitting questions, say, hey, my name's Carter. This is what I pitched. What do you think? This is a great forum for me to help you answer and give you more specific answers. But since I don't know what your casting story is and I don't know what you've been pitching, what I would recommend is that, okay, you've done something 4 times in a row and haven't got a response. And if you've been building off the same story, it's time to start from square one. And while that may not be the answer you want to hear, it goes back to the old old adage or old saying that, you know, if you're doing the same thing over and over again with expecting different results, it's not going to happen. So what does that mean for you, Carter? It means that you need to, you said you're very self-aware. So if that's the case, it's time to shift your self-awareness and look at yourself from a different angle. So whichever angle you're pitching yourself, maybe you're pitching yourself as, you know, a nerdy science teacher. I'm not saying that to you. I'm just, first thing that came to mind. So what about yourself outside of being a nerdy science teacher is there? You know, what was your journey to get to that point? What's unique about how you grew up? You know, you have to really start going through and you're saying, okay, if this is how I'm positioning myself and it hasn't worked, you got a 180 and find a way to do that. One of the great ways to do this, you guys have heard me mention this a few times in previous podcasts, is start and make a list as long as you can of all the weird things about yourself. Weird being things that, you know, when you tell people you might be embarrassed. When, you know, you tell someone, they may laugh or question you or think that's strange or wonder how the heck that happened to you. You know, it may be something revealing, something that you've never told anyone. Make that list of all those weird and unique things about yourself, and that's a great place to start. Because, for example, you know, the Big Brother cast was just released. I bet there's a few people, you know, we've seen 2 episodes maybe. You could tell me what a few of those people are just from seeing them for a couple minutes. Why? Because they've been typecast or they've been, you know, broken down to something very easy you can remember. You can remember the poker player, the poker dealer, you know, just things like that. But you remember a story beyond that. If you, all those 2 examples I just gave, if you watched the show and were half engaged, you could also probably tell me one other thing about those people. And whatever those other things were for those people that happen to get cast on this show, you know, that wasn't an accident. That has been like hammered and hammered and hammered till it got to a fine point in casting where they're like, okay, here's this person's pitch, let's go and do it. So that's it's not the advice you want to hear, but you got to take a 180, look at yourself from a different perspective, and try pitching yourself that way. Also, as always, you know, I know you said you've applied for Survivor 4 times, and I'm sure that's the show that you want to be on. Apply for other shows and work on your casting story that way. See, you know, test your casting story with other shows you don't really care about and see if that gets any bites. That will help as well. So Carter, as a small thank you for you know, you putting yourself out there and submitting the question, we're going to send you a free digital copy of my book, How a Normal Guy Got Cast on Reality TV. And if you want to be like Carter and get your question answered on the podcast, you can do so by going to howtogetonrealitytv.net/ask. There's, you know, you can do it from the website, from your phone, you know, tablet. It's very straightforward, easy. And yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say something else, but rattled because I didn't have my phone on silent. Anyways, so yeah, Carter, thank you so much for asking the question. We're going to send you that. And oh yeah, you guys run the show. I don't run the show. This show is run by you guys asking great questions like Carter. So if you have a question that you may be somewhat, I don't want to say embarrassed or hesitant, maybe you're shy, well, this is a great time to start putting yourself out there, because if you're going to be shy about asking a question to me, you're probably going to have a tough time in casting. So start now. Anyways, go to howtogetonrealitytv.net/ask if you have a question. And Carter, thank you so much for submitting yours. All right, so that wraps up episode 37 of the How to Get on Reality TV podcast. I want to wish everyone luck in what they're working on right now. I know a new cast was released. And it's either a fun time for a lot of people or people that were close in the casting process. They're a little bummed out. But I know there are a few people that have emailed me and said, hey, they got very, very far in the process and they don't understand where it went wrong. And it's tough. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid. It stinks to see the cast release, but enjoy the season and start thinking about how you can fit in next season. But also, if you're looking for some additional help, check out the guide that I wrote. It will help you. It's helped someone to get on this season and has since the past, you know, couple seasons that have been out. You can check that out by going to howtogetonrealitytv.net/guide. And I will see you guys next week. Have a great week, and you know, always be working on your story. Try new things. Start finding what's weird about you, because that'll help you, and it'll help you, Carter. Thanks for watching.